The city drops its mask mandate from tomorrow. But face coverings are still required at high-risk locations, such as public hospitals and government clinics. And the UK and the European Union seal a deal to resolve their post-Brexit trade dispute over Northern Ireland. Good evening. We begin with some good news today. Starting tomorrow, Hong Kong will scrap its mask mandate, but face coverings should still be donned at high-risk locations, including hospitals, so as to protect the city's weakest and most vulnerable. Jackie Lin with details.
After some 950 days, face masks no longer a must in Hong Kong.
Hong Kong is resuming normalcy. I think this is the right time to make this decision.
A decision that's set to mark an end of all COVID restrictions in Hong Kong and an end to the city's COVID era.
We look forward to a better tomorrow, and that is the 1st of March, so that we can all put a smile on our faces and say hello, Hong Kong.
Starting March 1st, people can be out and about mask-free both indoors and outdoors, including on public transport. That's except government medical facilities, including public hospitals and clinics, where masks should still be worn. For care homes, the government strongly urges their staff and visitors to wear a mask to protect the residents. Those with respiratory symptoms or chronic illnesses are encouraged to keep their face coverings on in places where ventilation is poor. Still, Hong Kong is the latest among Macau, Japan, Thailand, and Singapore to ditch the mask mandate. When asked if the move is overdue, the CE had this to say.
I have always told people that I will be monitoring the situation for Hong Kong after looking at all the data, the trend, and the fact that the winter surge is nearing the end, that I made the decision.
The government admitted there would be a slight rebound in COVID and flu cases over the short term after axing the mask rule. Among the most vulnerable are children. While the daily rapid test requirement will be done away at secondary schools starting March 1st, pupils at kindergartens, primary and special schools should be COVID screened with rapid tests until mid-March. This kindergarten principal said it is still the flu season in Hong Kong, so it's better kindergartens phase out the use of masks after the Easter holiday to protect the toddlers. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
Hong Kongers are looking forward to showing their faces for the first time in 3 years. LegCo member Edward Leung said the move will attract more tourists and promote the Hello Hong Kong campaign. Mimo Sangai has more.
For almost 3 years, wearing a mask has become a habit for many Hong Kong residents. With the government announcing that the public will no longer need to cover their faces from Wednesday, how will people react?
Over summer I was in England and it's really nice not having to wear a mask there anymore, but finally in Hong Kong now as well, so I'm very happy. I think also a lot of places in Asia have still some sort of mask mandate. I think Taiwan only recently announced a change as well, but I think it's a little bit late.
For the social practice, if someone afraid or some concern of it, I will wear it for them. But for me, I will not wear a mask anymore in the public area.
Finally, mask-free, yeah. It's quite difficult to breathe with the mask, so.
So would you get up earlier in the morning to prepare for work just to do your makeup?
I'm very minimalistic when it comes to makeup, only the basic bare minimum one.
For them, mask-free Hong Kong means more tourists will come to the city.
Many people are pleased with the announcement, saying they have long been waiting for this day to arrive and that the city has finally returned to normalcy.
Meanwhile, LegCo member Edward Leung says the announcement can help to promote the government's tourism campaign, Hello Hong Kong.
For the tourists, knowing that we do not have to wear masks anymore in Hong Kong, I think it is very attractive to them. I think we can attract more people, no matter it is tourists coming to Hong Kong for leisure or coming to Hong Kong for business.
Leung, however, advised vulnerable people, such as the elderly, to wear masks on public transport to protect themselves. Looking back on the days under the mask mandate, many memories came back. Residents rushed to buy masks. Many people still wanted to buy masks, even when each box cost $100. Pharmacy Chamber said the N95 masks were sold out in the market. People were furious, questioning Carrie Lam, the then chief executive. The government issued free masks to the public. Lam said the masks were called "See You mask," meaning "I want to see you." As masks became more readily available, factories also completed their missions. Mingbo TVB News.
A research team from the University of Hong Kong School of Medicine said the COVID-19 jab is effective in preventing severe illness and high death rates among patients. The research found death rates among those with chronic diseases could drop by more than 90% after taking the third jab. The team also believes that residents will need to get regular booster jabs in the future.
About how often do people need to have the booster? That depends on how long the immunity will retain in the human body. However, for any immune system, the more you expose to the what we call antigen, either the vaccine itself or the disease itself, the virus itself, then you create a better and better response. So we need more study to actually demonstrate what will be the optimum time for the dosing. But based on the current evidence, most likely will be between 6 to 9 months.
In other news, the police deployed more than 100 officers to the Northeast New Territories landfill in Ta Kung Ling today to search for the missing remains of murdered model Abby Choi. Due to the size of the dumping site, authorities believe it will take several days to complete the search. Police investigations revealed that the perpetrators may have disposed of some of Choi's remains in a trash can at Lung Mei Village in Tai Po before they were taken to the New Territories landfill. Some bones were found at the dumping ground today, but authorities have not confirmed whether they belong to the victim or to animals. At Lung Mei Village, Choi's husband and family members mourned the victim and performed Taoist rituals outside the crime scene. Apart from the murder charge, the ex-husband of Abby Choi, Alex Kwong, also faces 7 counts of theft. Kwong appeared at the district court today over the theft cases. Kwong stood the trial without a legal representative. When asked by the judge if he had anything to say, Kwong only replied no. The judge adjourned the case until May 9th. This, as the prosecution said, they needed time to look through the evidence and are mulling whether to press more charges against Kwong. Alex Kwong is accused of stealing necklaces, bullion, and gold pellets from 7 people in Mong Kok, Yau Ma Tei, and Hung Hom. He has been wanted by the court since 2015. Overseas, British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak struck a deal with the European Union on post-Brexit trade rules for Northern Ireland on Monday. He said it would pave the way for a new chapter in London's relationship with the bloc. Still, Sunak needs to gain parliamentary favor in order for the new protocols to be implemented. Daniel Rao tells us more.
British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen announced the so-called Windsor Framework after agreeing to the final details in Windsor, near London. The deal seeks to resolve a thorny post-Brexit trade dispute between the UK and European Union over Northern Ireland. Both Sunak and von der Leyen heralded the breakthrough.
I believe the Windsor Framework marks a turning point for the people of Northern Ireland. It fixes the practical problems they face. It preserves the balance of the Belfast Good Friday Agreement. Now, of course, parties will want to consider the agreement in detail, a process that will need time and care. Today's agreement is written in the language of laws and treaties. But really, it's about much more than that. It's about stability in Northern Ireland.
Sunak said the new rules removed any sense of a border in the Irish Sea by eliminating checks and paperwork for the vast majority of goods entering Northern Ireland. Only those destined to travel onward to EU member Ireland will be checked. He said Northern Ireland's lawmakers would be able to block any changes to EU goods laws that applied to them by using an emergency mechanism labelled the Stormont Brake, after the home of the Northern Ireland Assembly. Von der Leyen stressed that the EU's borderless single market would be protected by safeguards, including IT access, labels and enforcement procedures. She added the European Court of Justice would remain the sole and ultimate arbiter of EU law. Sunak said lawmakers in Parliament would get a vote on the deal at the appropriate time, but not right away. He must also convince Northern Ireland's Democratic Unionist Party, who collapsed the province's Protestant Catholic power-sharing government a year ago in protest against checks on some goods entering Northern Ireland from the rest of the UK. That temporary solution aimed to prevent a hard border between Northern Ireland and Ireland, a key part of the 1998 Good Friday peace agreement. Daniel Rowell, TVB News.
Still ahead, U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen makes an unannounced visit to Ukraine. Canada bans TikTok from government-issued devices. And a former company director found guilty of manslaughter after successfully appealing against his murder conviction. Welcome back. U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen is the latest high-profile American official to visit Kyiv, repeating her country's pledge to stand by Ukraine in their war against Russia and handing out another multi-billion-dollar aid package. Fighting, meanwhile, continues to rage in the eastern areas, with Russia's armed forces saying they have almost encircled the strategic mining city of Bakhmut. Ukraine is also claiming success on the battlefield, with Kyiv saying it has shot down a Russian fighter jet. Nazvi Karim reports.
It was a turn of Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen to reaffirm U.S. economic support for Ukraine in their war against Russia. Yellen met Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in Kyiv on Monday, later pledging another $10 billion to support Ukraine's economy, the first $1.2 billion of which has been transferred. This is in addition to the $50 billion the U.S. has already given in the year since Russia invaded Ukraine's east.
As we mark 1 year since the beginning of this full-scale invasion, the message I bring you from President Biden is simple. America will stand with Ukraine for as long as it takes. We both know that effective military resistance on the front lines of this fight requires a functioning economy and government and continued essential public services like education, hospitals, and emergency response.
Yellen also laid flowers at the Wall of Remembrance dedicated to fallen soldiers, met Ukrainian landmine removal experts whose equipment was financed with U.S. funds, and visited a renovated school that had its windows blown out last March by a blast wave from a Russian missile. In his address, Zelensky praised U.S. financial support, but also said Western allies needed to overcome the taboo of discussing the supply of fighter jets. In Belarus, a close ally of Russia, satellite images show an airfield days before an anti-government group claimed to have blown up a sophisticated Russian military surveillance aircraft. Alexander Azarov, leader of the Bipol group, made the claim in a telegram message on the Poland-based Belsat news channel. The group is against the ruling government and is opposed to Belarus allowing Moscow to use its territory to launch attacks on Ukraine. Azarov later told Reuters that they would carry out more attacks. Nazvi Karim, TVB News.
Top voices within the UN condemned what they called Russia's senseless invasion of Ukraine at the start of the latest Human Rights Council session in Geneva. The keynote speakers also expressed concern about a decline in human rights around the world. David Garrett reports.
The UN offices in Geneva, the Secretary-General took to the floor at the Human Rights Council. He says Russia's invasion of Ukraine has triggered massive violations of human rights.
It has unleashed widespread death, destruction and displacement. Attacks on civilians and civilian infrastructure have caused many casualties and terrible suffering. The Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights has documented dozens of cases of conflict-related sexual violence against men, women and girls.
The new UN human rights chief is Volker Turk. The Austrian put forward his vision.
The old destructive wars of aggression from a bygone era with worldwide consequences, as we have witnessed again in Europe with the senseless Russian invasion of Ukraine. The new supple artificial intelligence, blurring fact and fiction and raising uncharted risks, and the tumultuous online world where viral deceptions threaten our elections, our health, our security and more. We need to forge a new worldwide consensus on human rights, broadening its base of support and moving forward together in recognition that our survival depends on finding our way back to that common language.
Chinese Foreign Minister Qin Gang spoke remotely. He said finding that common language may be difficult. There's no one-size-fits-all, he said. The right of each country to independently choose the path of human rights must be respected. Blindingly copying the model of others may not work.
This is a moment to stand on the right side of history. A moment to stand up for the human rights of everyone, everywhere. We must revitalise the Universal Declaration and ensure its full implementation to face the new challenges of today and tomorrow.
The UN Secretary-General summing up, Gutierrez says, a year on from Russia's invasion of Ukraine, that there is no time to waste. David Garrett, TVB News.
The White House is giving all U.S. federal agencies 30 days to wipe TikTok off all government devices. This as the Chinese-owned social media app comes under increasing scrutiny in Washington over alleged security threats. Meanwhile, Canada announced a ban on TikTok from government-issued devices starting today. Federal employees will also be blocked from downloading the application in the future. TikTok initially said it was disappointed by the decision. A company spokesperson said the ban was issued without citing any specific security concern or contacting the company with questions. And back here at home, a former company director who killed his mistress 11 years ago saw his sentence reduced to 9.5 years behind bars on charges of manslaughter. That's after the defendant successfully appealed against the original charge of murder. 49-year-old Ivan Chan was acquitted of murder at the High Court yesterday, but found guilty of killing his mistress Chun Kai-yi by accident back in 2011. At the time, the pair had multiple rows after Chan's wife discovered the love affair. Chan confessed in the court that they had a quarrel in the apartment Chan bought for her at Amoy Gardens, and he pressed Chun's face and strangled the 33-year-old, leading to her death. The mistress's body is still missing to this day. Chan was found guilty in 2015 and twice appealed against the conviction before having the verdict overturned in the High Court. As Chan has served time for 9 years, the Correctional Services Department said they have to work out the exact duration he's been held in prison for any early release. One of the highlights of the 2023-24 budget announced last week is another round of consumption vouchers for eligible residents to support the local economy. However, there are concerns that some recipients may spend the vouchers on overseas-related items, such as vacationing abroad. Speaking on a TVB program, Financial Secretary Paul Chan gave his explanation for the arrangement. Timothy Lee reports.
In his budget speech, Financial Secretary Paul Chan announced a new round of consumption vouchers to support the local economy. The vouchers can be used to buy foreign products and even for overseas travel. Would that contradict the intention of supporting the local economy?
Well, if that argument is valid, going to the restaurants, all the materials are imported. Given Hong Kong, a small open economy, basically we import the best from any part of the world. The tourism industry, the travel agents in the past few years have been suffering. So in a way, they also want the support from the government and the community.
Chan suggested the city may borrow money by issuing bonds to support the government's plan to invest in the future, despite the rising interest rates.
Oh, don't worry about it. At the moment, the debt to GDP ratio of Hong Kong is about 4.5%. We plan to issue bonds to the order of about 65 billion annually in the next 5 years. At the end of 26-27, our debt to GDP ratio is only about 9.5%, very safe.
Chan said the money raised can be spent on various infrastructure and public works projects so that the community can benefit earlier. He also noted financial services as well as innovation and technology are the future of the city's economic growth, with green tech and green finance showing growing importance. Chan said no one is leading in these areas, so there's an opportunity for Hong Kong to be the leading player. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
That's the news. Can't wait to see people's faces tomorrow. Bye for now.